So let us formally begin. So caring for Earth's caregivers. The Less Green, More Green Mindful Tech Plan is going to be the central focus of this, the first of 4 webinars that will be taking place, 2 this month, 1 in January, and the final one in March. Thank you for joining us on this first session, and we certainly hope to have you along for the subsequent sessions. This, as you just saw, this is being recorded, so anyone who is not able to join us live will be able to watch the recording. We will send a follow-up email within the next few days with information about the recording, as well as a survey link, which will help prepare you for that next session. So again, if you're just joining us, my name is Ian Shanahan. I'm representing Green Teacher. I'm based in what is now known as Southeastern Ontario, which is Williams Treaty Territory, the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and Mississauga peoples. I'm very grateful to be here in an area where I grew up, so a land that I'm quite familiar with, and certainly thankful for all those who have cared for this land for thousands of years. So a little bit about Green Teacher. Our mission is to enhance environmental literacy among young learners, and we do this by equipping both practicing and aspiring environmental educators in all educational contexts with innovative, relevant, and evidence-based resources. This is all part of achieving our vision of ensuring that each successive generation of young learners is more environmentally literate than the last. We have multiple modes of making these possible, one of which is our quarterly magazine. It is largely digital now, but we will be doing a special print issue early in the winter all about the energy transitions, there's only one, singular. And we just published a special issue on wild native bees. We also have forthcoming special magazine issues on electrification, specifically electric vehicles, as well as ocean health. We've also published a number of different books over the years. The 2 most recent ones are Teaching Kids About Climate Change and Teaching Teens About Climate Change. Each one functions as a sort of toolbox for educators to engage students in action-oriented lessons and activities related to climate change and associated topics. One of our more recent channels of operations is the Talking with Green Teachers podcast, which you can access, I always hate to say this phrase, wherever you get your podcasts. It's a little bit pretentious maybe, but it is true. Wherever you subscribe to podcasts, if you are a podcast listener, you can find Talking with Green Teachers. We just published our 48th episode yesterday, which is all about what we can learn from trees. And that was featuring a botanical garden specialist from Australia in the Blue Mountains region west of Sydney. So it's very much an international show. We've had listeners from over 85 countries to date. You may well have heard about this evening's webinar from one of our webinar partners. So we're very thankful to our partners in Canada. You can see all of them listed here. Many of them are fellow charitable nonprofit organizations across the country. We're also very thankful to our US webinar partners. Again, you may well have heard about this event from them. Our US webinar partners are fellow environmental education organizations, a good many of them affiliates, the state affiliates with the North American Association of Environmental Education. So thank you again to all of our partners in Canada and the US for spreading the word about this webinar. And this is a mutually beneficial arrangement. In kind, we share their events through our networks as well. I will now pass the virtual microphone because I'm about a 6-hour flight away from where Steph is, but Steph is going to be speaking with her Take Me Outside hat on a bit about this wonderful organization that is a frequent collaborator with Green Teachers. So take it away, Steph.
Thanks. Yeah, it's lovely to see everyone here and everyone writing in where they're calling in from. I didn't realize that 85 different countries also tuned into the podcast. So that's awesome. So I'm working for Take Me Outside. We have historically been based sort of in Canada, but we're slowly expanding our reach through our events and things like that. So personally, I'm in British Columbia. I'm on Vancouver Island, which is the territory of the Coast Salish peoples, where I'm at specifically the Kawatsan people, the Cowichan tribes, and the Hokominum speaking people. And I, like Ian, I'm living near to where I grew up. So I feel grateful to be on familiar land and in a place that I love. And working for Take Me Outside allows me to create connections with people to the land wherever they're at. If you haven't heard of us before, we're a nonprofit. Our mission is about raising awareness and facilitating action on nature connection and outdoor learning, mostly focused in schools. But our sort of greater focus is about encouraging more time spent outside, counterbalancing screen time and sedentary tendencies that folks can so often find themselves in. So I will put our website there. I put our general email in my email as well if you'd like to stay in touch with us. We do a lot of different events and workshops and things like that, so I won't get into them. I'll let you explore the website. One thing I will plug, though, is our inaugural Outdoor Learning Conference, which is happening in Banff, Alberta this May, so May 2023. Alongside the Outdoor Learning Store and Ecom, so two awesome organizations, alongside all the help we'll have along the way. We're having a conference. It's going to be the first one, and hopefully an annual conference after that. And I will put some links there in the chat if you'd like to check that out. We are welcoming registrations right now if you want to attend and join in. And we're also welcoming calls for presentations right now if you are an expert in your field or you have something about outdoor learning. It's a broad world that you want to share with others and who are attending. We would love to have you, and just feel free to reach out if you have any questions or if you want to just stay in touch about that. So that's the main thing I want to plug, but if you see anything else on our website you have questions about, please reach out. We got all kinds of events for all ages, so I'll leave it there for now.
Great. Thanks so much, Steph. And just a note, anything that we share in the chat box, we will include a link to all of that in the follow-up email that we sent. So you don't have to worry about furiously taking notes or anything like that. We'll provide all of the information that's captured digitally. We'll make sure you have access to that. So that's a bit about Green Teacher and Take Me Outside. As I mentioned, we're frequent collaborators in this space. It is our first time, however, collaborating with our wonderful facilitator for today, whom I'm quite pleased to introduce to you. Just one moment, my slide is sticking. It wouldn't be a Zoom meeting without at least one technical glitch. There we go. So our wonderful facilitator is Carrie Crofton. She was born in British Columbia, but has shifted to the eastern coast of Canada. And just a little bit about her before I pass the virtual baton over to her to lead the proceedings. So she is the founder and director of the Canadian charity Global Alliance for Brain and Heart Health. She has 45 years of professional work, and that includes developing and delivering wellness programs for teachers, parents, nurses, physicians, cardiac patients, air traffic controllers, commercial and fighter pilots, and others in high-stress occupations. She's the author of the Wellness Guide for the Digital Age, as well as Less Screen, More Green, the Mindful Tech Plan. An overview of much of the content of that book is included in a recent issue of Green Teacher magazine that just came out this past fall. She is a nature-loving mother and grandmother and once worked as a teacher, so she's very familiar with our environmental educator audience. And she currently offers Pro-D, Less Screen, More Green programs for other teachers, as well as the Mindful Tech Plan, the Family Tech Plan, and the School Tech Plan. As I mentioned, it is our first time collaborating with her, but we're so glad that we have gotten in touch because we're very much aligned in our goals. And I will now pass the virtual baton once again over to Carrie Crofton.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you for the intro, and to you and to Colin for hosting us, and to Steph. It's really, I've been looking forward to this. I've done lots of these kinds of calls, but this one feels pretty special. I feel that I'm working, reaching out to people who are dealing with many of the issues, being an earth caregiver myself. So I'm here in Nova Scotia and the ancestral lands of the Mi'kmaq people. And I'm delighted to see a few of our elders have joined us this evening. So welcome. Thank you. And it's a diverse group. I've looked and seen not only diverse in terms of where people are from, but also the groups and the missions and the different people that are working within this realm. So I think, in a sense, we have people in the green teacher, environmental educators. We have people from some of the environmental advocacy groups. Also from some of the people I recognize from the safer tech community. So this is really wonderful feeling of us coming together. And so while we're diverse, I know that we share a lot of the same values, but also perhaps a lot of the same deep concerns and challenges. And we did a forest bathing workshop in the park here not too long ago. So I was there, I have my clipboard and I'm doing my proper little Dr. Crofton thing. And I've got the waivers and I've got the handouts and I've got the, kids with allergies, and I'm doing all this. So there I am. And then I look over and there's the elder sitting under a tree, just kind of breathing with the tree. Our forest bathing guide, sheeting around in the grass, and they're feeling the leaves, and I'm there, with my shoes on and my clipboard. So I thought, what the heck? So I put down my clipboard, I took off my shoes, and I squished into the leaves and just let the nature healing soak into me. So I share this story with you because I'd like you to think of whatever your clipboard is. Maybe it's a stethoscope. Maybe it's your teacher hat, your leader. Please put that aside. Because right now, this time is really for you to take the time for your own well-being. And so maybe you don't want a clipboard, but if you have a journal, that's good. We're very retro, when we do programs, we hand out journals and pencils. And so if you want to take notes, that's great. You may be watching on your phone, but if you don't have to, I would invite you to power it off, or at least put it aside. I hope you understand that we're not against technology. Obviously, here we are using this, but it's a powerful energy and it really needs balance. So that's what we're talking about tonight, or today, or right now. So we want to look at what are the ways that heal and what are the ways that harm. And for me, my real passion is I want people to be making informed choices. And in a few moments, I'm going to go through some slides. And I want you to see that sometimes we're doing things that we think are healing and nurturing, but actually there can be a harmful aspect to that. So I want you to have this information, and so that you can then make the choices. So yes, I know, I get the irony. Here we are, another Zoom. There's a whole new phenomenon now, a syndrome called Zoom fatigue. So here we are. So part of Zoom fatigue is that we're kind of grasping with our eyeballs. And so let's try a little exercise. So just kind of sit back in your chair for a minute. You don't need to see me particularly. I hope you can hear me well enough. We're in good hands with Ian and Steph. They'll take care of all that. But let's just for a moment feel that our energy is kind of dropping into the body. You can feel your body sitting in your chair. You can feel your breath. And maybe even do a little belly breathing. So you can, now that I said you can close your eyes. So if you put one hand on your upper chest and one hand on your lower belly, Just get a sense of what's moving, which hand is moving most as you breathe. So high, shallow breathing is connected with the sympathetic response. Low belly breathing is connected with the parasympathetic, the relaxation response. So you can really shift your nervous system on the spot, in the moment, by just changing your breathing. So just for a moment, if you put both hands down on your belly, and we're not all sitting at the base of a tree. You're here in my virtual forest. We have another exercise for Zoom fatigue, and it's called 20-20-20. So every 20 minutes, look off into the distance, 20 feet for 20 seconds. This helps to refocus the eyes. The reason we get from too much screen, not only the too much blue light, but it's the short, sustained focus. So every 20 minutes, look off into the distance, 20 feet for 20 seconds. Then we've got another eye exercise. See this, I hope you came prepared for a bunch of tips to use. I'm not particularly interested in a lot of theoretical. I mean, I can talk in theory. I can throw a lot of scientific studies at you. But really, we're here to take care of our own well-being. So I'm offering these invitations to you, and you can use them as you will. And I'm starting with eyes because that's really a lot of the Zoom fatigue. So this one is you cup your hands over your eyes. Now you can't see me, doesn't matter. So your eyes are either opened or closed, but just to feel as if your eyes are resting. And your energy is not so much up in your head, but kind of sinking down lower into the base of your body. Energy down through your legs, to your feet, as if you're grounded into the earth. Breathing. And then you can open your eyes. Whoa. Do a little stretch. One of the things we're going to do is Qigong. And we're not going to do Qigong in this session, but we will in another. We do desk Qigong too, so that's good. Shoulders, neck. Okay, big breath. Sometimes you feel like you just woke up. So those are some simple exercises you can do wherever you are. So I want to show you some others. Okay. So this is our part one tonight, or today. And then in 3 weeks, we meet again for part two, as Ian said. And then 3 in January, you'll be all fresh from your New Year's resolutions. And then in March for part 4. So you're all busy people, and you may think, oh, I don't have time for this. Not another thing to do, not more stuff to feel guilty about. But these are really invitations so that you can use this as you will. because I know myself what it's like to be concerned about the forests, to know that we need nature a lot more than nature needs us. And as the elders have said, this is our medicine. So it's heartbreaking to feel what's happening to the forests, to the birds. And if you're not worried about pollinators, you should be. We need them more than you can imagine. So it's heartbreaking to see polar bears on disappearing ice floes, species at risk, and not to mention our own species at risk. So just now that we did our relaxation, just feel the burden of this. If we allow ourselves to carry this burden all the time, it's going to truly wear us down. So one of the tips that I really encourage people is a touch and go. We need to continue with our work, but we mustn't carry it as a burden all the time. So here's kind of who we are, our board, and I'm going to go through this quickly, what we call the 4 pillars: to reduce stress, burnout, anxiety, to boost mental and physical well-being and planetary health. The essential ground and heart of our programs is Earth-connected Indigenous cultures, the shared values of respect, kindness, and living sustainably. Our green time nature walks, with soaking in the healing power of nature. We do forest bathing. Somebody arrived at one of our forest bathing carrying a bathing suit. We said, no, we're not actually swimming, but anyway. Then mindfulness practices, different ways to slow down, to calm, to focus. And as you probably know, the challenge with that is the more we need it, the less we're going to turn to it. So this is how where the less screen part comes in. That we want to, when you're using screens, to know how to use them more safely and how to balance them. So we have the mindful tech plan and healthier screen time. So the Indigenous part of our program is really crucial. And I have learned so much from the elders that we've worked with. One of them said, I really appreciate your program. You're talking about people, kids connecting with nature. We are nature. We just need to come home. So that's a lot of what our program is about. And I don't know if you've ever seen this film. There was a wonderful film called The Next 7 Generations, and it featured the 13 Indigenous grandmothers. These are Indigenous grandmothers from all different parts of the world. And the wisdom that they share is truly moving. So if you're working in the environmental advocacy, education, environmental activist, and you feel eco-grief, anxiety, depression, despair, how could we not, really? You can only imagine what the Indigenous peoples feel of how they have lost so much of their culture and how the earth and nature has been so harmed. And yet all the ones that I have met have had such power and spirit. So we've a lot to learn. This is a group of environmental educators that did a training with Dr. Jane Goodall, who I'm sure you recognize. And if you have had the honor and pleasure of hearing her speak, you know how inspiring she is. And I had the good fortune to have a very brief meeting with Dr. Goodall. And I showed her, you can see I've got a rough draft of the book, Less Green, More Green there. and she very kindly signed it for me. She then gave us a brief blurb, a forward for the jacket. And she said to me, "You're doing good work. Keep going." So we are all doing good work. So let's keep going. In order to keep going, we have to keep our own energy and strength and health. So I'm going to offer some of these things for you. One is taking stock, awareness, and change the narrative. I don't know if this makes sense to you, but you have a friend who's really stressed. And every time you see this friend, they are going on and on and on about their troubles, their worries, their concerns, their fears. And you can just feel yourself tighten. Well, you know, your nervous system is listening. I don't know if you've ever had a child wakes up in the night and is scared, and there's a storm or something outside. So you soothe the child. You say, you know, it's okay. It's all right. Just breathe. The house isn't going to come down. You don't say to them, "Oh God, another storm. And the last storm we had, everything came down in the trees and all was all." So think of your own nervous system, kind of like this anxious child. So it's really crucial that we are aware of our narrative. And those of us who are concerned about climate change, how could we not have some grief and anxiety? But we can't make this a solid story, and we can't carry it with us all the time. It weighs us down like heavy burdens on our shoulders. So I'm not suggesting that we flip to the other extreme and be deniers and, "Oh, everything's fine," you know. I mean, I think here it's about balance, like in many things. So just be very mindful, particularly in the next 3 weeks. What's the story you keep telling yourself? Kind of tune in for a moment like you're the nervous system. You're the body that's listening. What's the message you're getting? Choose your health team. This is really crucial. Develop wellness strategies, ways to bring down your stress. This is energy, right? Bring down your stress, boost up your energy. And the Mindful Tech Plan, we talk about the safer connections and then how to truly connect. So it's really up to you what health team you put together. I'm really fortunate to have a wonderful acupuncturist and go there for tune-up. And I have a very sensitive nervous system. So I speak to you as an expert here, not particularly because of any academic qualifications, but somebody who has a very reactive nervous system. So I feel the stress too, but I'm fortunate to have learned ways to gear down, to breathe, to bring it under control. So maybe you have a pet, you have ways to ground and connect. There's also something called empathy fatigue. And this happens, it's a factor of burnout. You care so much, you feel hopeless, and then you just kind of begin to shut down. It's really hard on our health and our well-being. So as much as you can, keep open and keep connected with ways that connect you with family, connect you with the earth, connect you with your body. You probably know Richard Louv, the author of Last Child in the Woods, and he has many great quotes. The more high-tech our lives become, the more nature we need. So it's really about choices. And we are not against technology. We use it all the time, like right now, for example, but it needs balance. Dealing with tech addiction is challenging. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that later. But it's really about choices and it's about balance. I gave a talk at the Ecom some time ago and was talking to another presenter in the green room. So he asked me what I was presenting. So I said, well, my workshop's on children, nature, and technology. He said, yeah, I saw that, but I'm not really a gadget guy. I said, a gadget guy? He said, yeah, aren't you talking about having children with technology out in nature? I said, no. So I changed the title of the talk. Our programs are screen-free. Yes, the leader may carry a cell phone, but we don't go out into the woods and you have to look up to iNaturalist or whatever it is. We really want to disengage from the phones. So I encourage you to think about how you do this for yourself. I mean, you can have your green teacher leader hat on, but really, there's so many good programs happening. This is one, nature therapy for healthcare workers. There's lots of evidence, as you probably know, of the benefits. It brings our cortisol levels down, decreases our blood pressure and inflammation, increases our mental, physical well-being. I have friends who work in the Nature Conservancy and say, you know, people think we're out in the woods all the time, but I'm often just stuck behind my desk. So true. So many of us in the environmental movement are spending more time on our screens, or maybe we take the kids out into the woods, but do we get out there ourselves and just really take that time for us? So this is my husband. This is where we live on this lovely lake doing Qigong. And so we're going to offer you some of the simple Qigong movements that are really very helpful in grounding and connecting. So speaking of this is not me. Speaking of grounding and connecting, we're not interactive enough, but there's something in this picture that I would change, and that is her rubber-soled shoes. I don't think I have my moccasins here. So grounding is really crucial, but it's much better to be with bare feet or leather moccasins, because then you're truly grounding with the earth. So the Qigong exercises we're going to learn in this program are also ones you can do right at your desk. So Qigong is about the movement of the energy. When we're depressed, when we're burned out, you know for sure your energy is sluggish, it's not moving. And that's why when you actually unplug, turn off the TV, stand up, step outside the door, and go around the block, just even for 10 minutes, do some breathing, then come back and check and see how you feel. You know this. So one of the things I've discovered is there are a lot of people doing things that are traditionally been known to be wellness strategies, but these days they're a little different. I was actually, this is a stock picture, but I was in a yoga class and everybody had their phones. I mean, right there beside. You wouldn't want to miss a call. You wouldn't want to. So it's challenging, but we really need to take a look at how we can disconnect ourselves. I went to this, this is a Nordic spa, and they have a tree sauna. Look at that. There's a real sauna inside, and there's birch bark. I mean, what could be more in the woods? Get in there, and the eucalyptus, and you just, wonderful. Oh, so great. Ding, ding. And I look around. I mean, I didn't even know a phone would work in a sauna. So anyway, somebody had theirs. And then, now, I don't know if you can see this. This is a cocoon hammock. great idea, right? However, now I don't know, Ian, can you see my cursor on here?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, so folks from my safer tech community, they're all going, ah. Okay, not a good idea to put yourself in an electrified space like that. So that's what I mean by informed. So yes, great to take a little relaxation after the sauna, but don't do it in a strong electromagnetic field. Same goes for electric blankets. Okay, electric cars, great idea. However, it's a really strong electromagnetic field right under where you sit. So if you know anybody who's working in electric field, I mean electric cars, they need to shield the batteries. Here's one, not to mention the company, they have beehive monitors, keep a constant eye on the hives. So this is a wireless detector system to protect the bees. What's wrong with this picture? There's fairly clear evidence that beehives near cell towers have been really affected by the colony collapse disorder. The microwaves from the cell towers disorient the bees. They can't get back to the hive and they starve. So it's sad that not everyone knows this. Then also, here's another one where there's a lack of information, let's say, using your smartphone to monitor your heart rate. And whether you're concerned about tachycardia, arrhythmia, atrial fibrillation, monitoring it with your phone is harmful, because the phone, our hearts are, don't let me fall into my whole cardiac lecture, but just briefly, the heart is electrical in nature. So it's very vulnerable and it's really affected by electromagnetic fields, particularly the radio frequency that comes from cell phones. So this looks familiar. This was me a couple hours ago. So too much tech. One of the tips, one of the things that's really useful is to know what's your early warning cue when you've spent too much time on the screen, you're too stressed, you're too fatigued, whatever. I mentioned I used to work in cardiac clinics, and I said to the group, how do you know, when your stress is really building up? We've been talking about stress in the heart. And so some guy says, well, I know, I can tell when my stress levels are too high. I get chest pains. So I said, well, it'd be really helpful to tune in a little before the chest pains. It's not really funny, but it's true. So by the time you've got a really splitting headache, your eyes are so sore, your energy is like this, it's much harder to bring you back. So in this part one is about awareness. So I really invite you over the next 3 weeks before we meet again, tune in, be sensitive. When are your eyes just starting to hurt? When are your shoulders coming up? When are your wrists and thumbs tightening? When do you feel the kind of tightness in your abdomen, or just it's like your world is closing in on you? So that's the time to do some good breathing and good relaxing. So whether the eye exercises, the palming, the 20-20-20, or some movement, qigong. And also get outside and just walk. The evidence shows us 20 minutes really makes a difference. I know, a lot of slides, but here we go. So also we're going to, in this program, talk to you about ergonomics. I better sit up straight, speaking of ergonomics, okay? So healthier ergonomics. Hopefully you don't have 3 screens in front of you, but in any case. And also safer connections. It really makes a difference to your health and your energy of how you are connected. Okay, so we're not going to go through this in great detail, but just to give you an overview. So this is the incorrect sitting posture. Somebody said to me, who sits at a desk? So maybe you're lying on the couch or you're in the car or on the bed or something, but just be mindful of your spine, be mindful of your gaze, wrists. So this correct sitting position, sitting up, level, distance from the screen, feet on the floor, and also a wired connection. Also, the correct standing posture. So physios will tell you, they've told me, that it's good to alternate. The constant sitting is hard. Okay, so we're in our 20 minutes. Okay, so let's look away from the screen, 20 feet away. And you don't have to throw your eyeballs out there, just breathing. You can put your hand on your belly. Hey, got a body. Whew. Shoulders down, eyes relaxed. And we're back. I don't know if that was 20 seconds, but it felt good. So yes, it's all about choices, but it's about information. We're going to tell you everything you don't want to know about a smart home, but we'll tell you things that you need to know about using your phone and all of that technology. We're going to offer the 7 screen time practices. So you can see them there. Again, I'm not going to go into great detail with this, but just briefly, this is the worst, holding it right against your head. The wireless radiation, it drops off dramatically with distance. So having your phone out here and using a wired headset, the little earbuds, wireless earbuds is probably the worst. I know when I see people like that, and I used to try to say something, but can't really. But it's the radiation goes right through the ear canal to the brain. It's not good. So this here, you can see the wired connection. And I know this is very analog, but one of the best things, here's some of the best things you can do for your health. Stop using your phone for an alarm. Consider getting wired Ethernet connection. And anybody know what this is? I gave a talk at a school and I talked about landlines. The guy goes, what's a landline? So those are all some considerations for you to ponder. We're going to talk about some of the work. This is Dr. Deborah Davis, who's an epidemiologist and an expert in the field of the health effects of electromagnetic radiation. Also, Dr. Martin Blank, who was on our board, and neuroscientist, Dr. Swingle, and psychiatrist, Dr. Judd Brewer. These last 2 are experts in the field of digital addiction. I know digital addiction isn't funny, but this struck me as funny. It keeps me from looking at my phone every 2 seconds. So let's not be hard on ourselves that we are so hooked on this. This technology was designed to get us hooked. So it's about the dopamine, like other good drugs, and you can get seriously hooked on your hits and followers. I think I have about 5 friends on Facebook and 4 followers on Twitter. I don't know. I'm not there very often. But there's this real phenomenon, I shouldn't joke about it, this fear of missing out. And there are people, maybe some of you, who really feel anxious when they don't have their phones. And when we do our less screen, more green training, and one of the things that people tell us is they are now able to go for walks and leave their phones at home, and just kind of breaking this connection. So we don't need to be experts in this, but I think it's important to realize that it isn't just that we're weak-willed. This technology was designed to get us hooked. So information overload. Don't want to know all this. It's a feeling, I know. But really, this is about making choices. And I wanted to share this list with you. I didn't write this list, but my daughter and one of her friends did it. And we put it in the book. Because I said, you know, with your generation, it's really an issue. And so what are some of the factors because of this kind of isolation and disconnectedness? And particularly for those of us who are working in environmental wellness, whether we're teachers, we're nature guides and leaders, maybe we're nurses, physicians, naturopaths, you know, we're taking on so much, and we need really good human connections. We need to support each other. We need the tribe. So if you spend too much time on social media, often lonely and depressed, image-oriented, think only of themselves, care too much about what others think of them. We see this so much in social media. Constantly seek affirmation through social media, bored, restless, can't relax, unfulfilled, never truly satisfied, uninspiring, uninspired. So truly connected, create and sustain meaningful relationships, emotionally connected with each other, content with themselves and don't obsess. I can't see that other part because this isn't, well, now I can move that, right? But what other people think of them or how they compare with others. Passionate, interested, connected with nature and the outdoors, interested in an active outdoor lifestyle. Make time to get together without their phones. So these are all important parts of our program. Mindfulness is, you don't have to, you know, take off to a Zen monastery, but to deal with the tech craving mind, to deal with a negative narrative, to deal with feelings of despair, depression, burnout, eco-grief, all of those, they really call upon us to develop some ability to control our, control's not really the word, but to be able to focus our minds and let ourselves really rest in the moment. This is Dr. John Kabat-Zinn, who's a true pioneer in this field, and Roshi Joan Halifax. So in our programs, we do the sit spot practice. And so I know you're not kids, but I encourage you to think about how you can make this part of your day, how you can make this part of your plan. And maybe you teach people this stuff, but let's see about actually doing it ourselves. So we find a quiet place outdoors, open your senses, and soak in the healing power of nature. If this is in an old growth forest, that's wonderful, but you can also do it in your backyard, or you can do it in your office with some plants. Choose a quiet place indoors to unplug, breathe, and feel grounded again. Discover a quiet place inside yourself to come back home. Each day, find time in your quiet place, your retreat, a calming, screen-free place. So we're also going to go through a 5-minute mindfulness meditation. And I'm just going to give you an overview of this. So this is about unplugging, powering off electronic devices, sitting quietly in an upright position with a relaxed face, shoulders, keeping your eyes open, not like open, hard focus, but kind of open, soft, relaxed gaze. You may be doing a mindfulness or meditation practice with your eyes closed. That's okay too. But I used to do attention training for pilots. And so it's really helpful for them to be able to have their eyes open and be relaxed. I have to tell you, when I was doing one of them, this was a group of fighter pilots at an Air Force base in the US. So I was there to teach them cockpit management. And one of it was to deal with stress. I mean, you know, pilots can get into particularly stressful situations, particularly fighter pilots. So I gave them this mindfulness meditation instruction. There was one guy, I remember, he sat there straight-armed, straight-legged, like this. And the meditation went on for a whole 3, maybe 4 minutes. And after he went, that was scary. I thought, here's a guy that does loop-de-loops and, you know, under fire. So sometimes for us, particularly when our minds are speedy and we're so focused on this, that it's hard, it's kind of intimidating to just deal with the space. Meditation, in a way, is making friends with space. And this is why a lot of people turn to their phones to fill the gap, to fill the boredom. So this practice, you pay attention to the movement of your breath, going in and out through your nose. Let your mouth and jaw relax. You let your thoughts and emotions come and go. You notice when you're wandering away, and you gently come back to the movement of the breath. You're not trying to stop your thoughts. You are not trying to make your mind go blank. So too much tech, step outside, at least 20 minutes. We're just about finished here. Unplug, slow down, breathe deeply. You know all this. Tune into your senses. Shift from your thinking brain into your feeling. So that's part of what this exercise of just slowing down, tuning in, feel your energy drop into your body, into this moment. I don't know that we're going to be particularly successful in all our aspirations. You're trying to get kids off phones, you're trying to wake up the politicians to climate crisis. You know, one of the factors in stress is something called the controllable uncontrollable. So as soon as you are in a situation where you feel responsible, but you don't really have control, you can't fix it, it can be very stressful for your body. So that's why it's so crucial that we use some of these reminders that we need to kind of talk ourselves down. We need to take this time. We must find this kind of balance. So, as I said, we're going to meet again in 3 weeks, and then in January and in March. So we're just at the top of the hour here. So for this time, I really invite you to find a way to take time for yourself, connect with nature, connect with your own being on your own, with your family. But please, you're all doing such good work. And taking care of ourselves isn't selfish, it's essential. And we've got to keep going. As Dr. Goodall said to me, you're doing good work, keep going. So if I can pass that along to you, and I hope this has been helpful this evening. And please give us your feedback, and we're in this journey together. So back over to you, Ian, and I'm going to close that. And
thank you so much, Carrie, for giving us that overview of the need to know information, as well as a preview of what we can expect in the next 3 sessions. So just to do a very small amount of housekeeping before we finish up and get to a couple questions, we will include a link to the recording, as well as a link to a survey that we'd like everyone to fill out before session 2, just because each session will build upon each other, and we don't want to overload you with too much homework, but it should only take a few minutes to fill out. I filled it out myself and it just took a few minutes. So nice, quick and easy. The recording of the webinar will also have free to view on Green Teacher's website for 30 days. So you can share that around with anyone who would like to join in, who maybe didn't see the first session. They can watch the recording and then join in for sessions 2, 3, and 4. We do have some prizes to give away. Just before we get to a couple questions, I will pass the mic back over to Steph, who has, is it 1 or 2 that we're going to give away this time?
Yeah, let's do 2.
We'll do 2 prizes. All right, excellent.
We'll do 2.
you didn't tell me there were going to be prizes.
Oh yeah, we're always full of little surprises in our back pockets here.
Surprises.
Yeah, so we'll do a quick little quiz question, and it'll essentially be just whoever has the correct answer first will be the winner of the first prize, and then we'll do the same for the second prize. So
sounds good. So we have $25 to spend at the Take Me Outside store for one of the prizes, and then MEC or MEC donates gift cards to us to give away, so they support us. So thanks to them for that. So we'll give away a $50 gift certificate to MEC.
excellent. I am a proud customer at MEC. Gotten a lot of equipment there over the years. It's always super high quality. It's a very dangerous place. You lose a lot of money going there, but for good reasons, for reasons of being outside. All right, so the first question is, what is the national bird of Canada?
Some fast typers here.
Some very fast typers. So, wow, very impressed. So Grey Jay, it to be honest, it hasn't officially been named yet, but it has been selected and put forward by a robust committee. So the Grey Jay, which has actually gotten its old name back, Canada Jay. So Megan, if you could just send me your email to my email, we will make sure that, or maybe Steph, if you want to put your email in the chat box for Megan to contact you with the answer to that first question. Yeah, sure, Canada Goose was a high ranker in the votes. I think Common Loon is another high ranker. Red-tailed hawk. There were a lot, but yeah, Grey Jay, or now called Canada Jay again, received the magic.
I did not know the answer to that, so I'm glad I was here.
It still hasn't. The government still hasn't officially labeled it, but it has been formally selected, so it is now the national bird. All right, another outdoor question. In British Columbia, the Coast Salish people are often known as the people of the cedars. What is the most common type of cedar in Western Canada that is also a major source of lumber? And Deb, very quick, the red. So Western red cedar, a mighty, magnificent tree. You just can't miss them. They're huge. Them and Douglas firs are just, they're massive out in the Pacific Coast. I don't see any of them in Ontario. So same things. Our winner, Deb, you can email Steph, and then we'll get you all sorted with your prize. So well done. Western red cedars. There was one question. I know we've just gone past the top of the hour, but I did want to get to it. A question about connecting with winter. I mean, it's obviously very difficult for a lot of reasons. Many folks suffer from seasonal affective disorder, largely because of the darkness. Cold can be a factor if you're in a particularly cold climate. And not all of us necessarily have access to, mountain ski resorts and beautiful places to go hiking. You might be in the middle of the city. You might be in a suburb where access to more wilderness or wilderness-like areas are not as accessible. So how can you connect with the outdoors in the winter? So a big and, by all means, folks, share your thoughts as well in the chat box. I think a big one, Carrie mentioned about sit spots, and I'm a big advocate for those as well. And I've done a lot of sit spotting in the winter, and you don't have
in the snow.
In the snow, and that's one of the things I was going to mention. If you have the benefit of being in an area with very deep snow, sort of plopping yourself in the snow and letting the snow envelop you, obviously having your head above the snow, is incredibly relaxing. Make sure you have the proper clothing. As they say, in winter, there's no such thing as bad weather, just bad clothes. If possible, try to be out of the wind. I mean, the wind can make a huge difference. I don't need to tell you folks that. Anyone who's been out in the wind in the winter will know that. And if it is sunny, being in the sun is always helpful. But winter sit spots can really be special. I've done a lot of them myself, and and it can be combined with forest bathing to take advantage of the benefits of that practice. So yeah, highly recommend the sit spots. And I don't know, Steph or Carrie, if there's anything you would like to share about managing some of the difficulties of winter.
We did during the time of the pandemic, did a virtual forest bathing with Sylvie Rocab, who did this wonderful film called Love Thy Nature. And everybody was, essentially in isolation. And it was wonderful. And she said, you can connect with the elements wherever you are, having a shower in the water, the earth of where you're sitting, whether houseplants. But in terms of the actual winter, I think, sometimes, even if you're at a window and you are taking in the nature vista, so turn from your screen to there, then there's dressing for it, as you say. Can I just add something, Ian, before we lose anybody? It's really great if people will fill out that survey. I know I don't always like doing those things, but it can be helpful for you also to see how you've evolved during this program. But it's really very helpful for us in terms of future funding and development for this program. So I ask you a big favor, please go online to that link. And as Ian says, it just takes a few minutes to fill it out, and no need to lie. Oh, I'm never on a screen. No, I could just take it. I could just take it or leave it. It's really helpful. Just write down what's happening. Thank you.
Yeah, I just included the link to the survey in the chat box, but we'll put it in the email and we'll post it on the registration page on our website as well.
Thank you.